Coachella Valley Coffee in, let me guess, Coachella Valley?
There you go, brother.
All right. Thank you very much. We have the website up now, handcrafted in the Coachella Valley. Where is the Coachella Valley, please, Cliff?
Well, it's Palm Springs to Thermal.
Okay. So you get all those, you get the festivals there. Do you get those?
We have a music festival or two, yes. As you well know, I heard you were out trouncing through them.
Well, I like I went to the country,
Yeah.
The country stagecoach, they call it.
That's the one we go to.
Yeah. So I have been telling everybody about you and your Coachella Valley Coffee in relation to, of course, great coffee. You have all these different sorts of coffees and all the rest.
Yes.
But I've sort of been bragging about the way in which you source those who are your coffee growers, where you source the beans. I wonder if you could discuss that a bit, because I was mentioning that you tend to favor female proprietors, women who are involved in a lot of these businesses throughout Latin America generally.
Yeah. And I'm in my 28th year of doing this, and it's funny that the last couple of years buying from women-owned farms is kind of the cool thing to do, but I've been doing it for decades because these are my friends. So about 40% of my coffees right now are from female-owned farms, because we knew decades ago that if I want to take care of a family, you got to get the money to the female first, because she'll always take care of the family first. Sometime you give us guys money, we get lost on the way home. We
True.
come home with a new truck.
Yeah. There is that.
So that's part of our business model. This company I started 3 years ago, and we've just blown up out here, because not only do I buy from women-owned farms, I have certain demands on the farmers we buy from, and most of these I've been buying from for decades. We overpay the farmers because we want them to stay in business. But we also ask the farmers to do certain things for their employees, give them free education for the kids year-round, free medical. And when you're in harvest, 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and then you take home dinner, because the hardest part in this entire coffee industry is that person picking those cherries from the shrubs. I know, because I've tried and, rolled down the mountain a few times. And I've had many farmers refuse to do that, and we move on. We found the ones that will do that, so we make sure they're taken care of. They make sure their people are taken care of. It's a win-win.
So coffee comes from berries? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, coffee comes from a berry. It looks like a small little cherry. It looks like a Bing cherry, and usually there's 2 seeds in that. And so every coffee bean is usually touched by a human, every cherry, 5 or 6 times before you see it. I'm going to touch it at least another time before it goes out in the mail to you. So it's one of the most, it takes more human energy than any other crop we have. And, years ago, last time I was in El Salvador, I was talking with a large East Coast roaster, and I said, coffee really is the modern day cotton. There's people in this industry that absolutely abuse the people that are picking the coffee. There's many of them that are working for $1, $2 a day, and we refuse to be a part of that. That's why I let anybody know that's buying from me, I'm not a discount coffee roaster, because if I give you a discount on the price, I can't do what I'm supposed to do, which is take care of the people growing this coffee, the people picking this coffee, to take care of my team here. And even though we're blessed to be extremely busy, everybody thinks I must be rolling in cash. I don't. I still have my 15-year-old car. I like it. It works. It has an air conditioner. That's all I need.
You're from regular stock.
I come from regular stock.
Just like Clarence Thomas. All right. So Cliff, when you're starting this business 28 years ago, did you start kind of like Kim, my colleague, is someone whose husband roasts his own beans in their garage? Is that kind of how you started?
I started in the coffee business. I opened a little coffee cart at Kaiser in Fontana. in 1995.
It's
So
in Southern California, right?
Yeah, I started with an espresso machine I got at a yard sale, and on a folding table and Costco muffins. And I thought, well, if I could do $200 a day, I could carve out a living. Well, the first year that one did about $250,000. So I was able to actually build a coffee kiosk, and I ended up with about 4 Kaisers throughout Southern California. And then I built my freestanding coffee shop in Redlands in 1999. And then I started hanging out with coffee roasters in Seattle. I got to hang out with Alfred Pete, and I just fell in love with that process of the coffee because I just wanted more control of my product. And ever since then, yeah, I was hooked.
So when you just quickly, when you roast the coffee, what are you doing to the coffee?
Well, I get
To the
coffee
bean.
green, and it looks like a split pea, and it's got about 12% moisture in it. And a small percentage of that moisture is actually natural sugars. So what I'm trying to do is turn those sugars, I'm trying to caramelize them. So roasting, it takes a certain temperature for a certain amount of time, and just to caramelize those sugars perfectly. And when I learned to roast by the old guys, it was nose and ears, smelling that coffee and listening. You can listen and you can tell what the temperature is. Even though we all have computers now watching stuff for us, a computer doesn't smell. And so that's all I'm doing. I'm a cook, but I kind of know where I want that coffee to be, depending if it's a Guatemala. You know, we have a honey processed Nicaragua right now that is just unbelievable, and that likes a little lighter roast. So it's just a cook trying to figure out what temperature works best for what bean.
So Cliff, Tony just showed a picture a moment ago of the what you're talking about, the green bean.
Yeah.
Okay, if you were to take that green, there it is on screen now. If you were to take that bean and
Thanks,
just
Tony.
run that bean through the normal process of grinding, and then you were to, draw the water, the hot water through it and drink that coffee, what would that taste like?
Grass.
Okay.
Yeah, it tastes real grassy, or like a wet hay straw.
I see.
Not very tasty.
If you're really a purist, you want to grind your bean right before you draw the water, before you make your coffee.
Yeah, because Mother Nature kind of gave us a natural container to hold all the flavors in that coffee. So if you can grind it right before you use it, because once you grind it, within a couple of minutes, half of the flavors and oils have evaporated. So that's why you can always tell the difference between something that's freshly ground or something that came in a bag ground.
It is the last thing, Cliff, the coffee house is Coachella Valley Coffee. I say coffee house. He's a purveyor of beans that go everywhere,
Yeah.
as we've just detailed. And there are all these different, it's different flavors, different roasting. When you see a darker bean, does that mean by definition that the coffee is going to be stronger that comes out of it?
No, the darker you roast, you're cooking more of the caffeine out of it. So the darker roasts have less caffeine, and the strength is really in the grind size. If you want a little stronger, grind it a little bit finer.
I see.
The darker will be a little more intense on your taste buds because you're going to taste more of that char from the dark roast. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. So my last question for you, as we just finish up with Cliff Young, the roast master at Coachella Valley Coffee, is this trend that occurred? I was saying at the beginning of the show, we were talking about the fact that you were going to come on. When I was a kid, there was just diner coffee and that was it. And it was that way for a long time. You pay, and somebody else said, I used to pay 10 cents for a coffee. And my mom used to make U-Ban and Sanka and all this other stuff. And then there was this rise in, Starbucks, Pete's, and then these individual roasters. And in San Francisco, where a lot of our listeners are in the Bay Area, there was a subculture of the coffee houses, right? That now you find everywhere. Again, people go to coffee houses for any number of reasons. They'll have major meetings, creative meetings at coffee houses. So my question to you, though, is the landscape has changed, though, that dramatically, okay, in the decades. Has that been good for you, or is all the competition not as good? Where does that cultural trend affect you?
Competition just kind of, it's good for me because people figure out who's doing a good job. competition doesn't scare me. And I don't say that I don't have an ego, but I know what I'm doing and I know how to do it well. When I started drinking coffee as I think 19-year-old, I would buy those cans of International Delight because that's how fancy I was. But people are figuring out a little more about the coffee. I think the public, the Gen Zs, want to help more. So they're going, oh, I can help this farmer. I can help this women-owned farm by buying this coffee. So we're very transparent of where our money goes. But that's why we're in business. I travel. I've been to every farm that we deal with, except for the Ethiopians. We have a new Ethiopia. Then I rely on my coffee brokers, my buyers, and I actually buy from the largest female coffee broker in the country, who I love and adore, and I trust them to send me some great coffee. So this industry it's big, but there's a small little circle. I'm blessed that I can call Martin Dietrich a close friend, or Mike from Klatch Roasting. And there's this little group of people that I go, if I have a new coffee in, I go, hey, I got this new El Salvador. What would you do with it? We're just teaching other people to do great coffee. There's no egos floating around.
That's terrific. Terrific stuff. Well, listen, I adore your coffee. The Coachella Valley Coffee is the best on earth. And I really, as I say, that wouldn't be enough to get you on the show, because I just feel as though the other part of your story is as compelling. How you lift up so many business people through Latin America and across the world, and Africa as well. And it's women who you lift up, who really take care of business. So yep. Handcrafted in the Coachella Valley. By the way, someone asked, and maybe I've been saying it wrong. I say the Coachella. Is it Coachella or is it Coachella?
Just Coachella.
God, I've been saying it wrong all this time. I really
it's that Bay Area tongue of yours. You just want to make everything fancy. Hey, let me tell you, next time you are in the Bay Area, there's a little over by the Presidio. There's a little coffee house, Henry's House of Coffee. He must be 90, but he used to sell tea to Alfred Pete before Alfred started roasting coffee. But he is the real deal too, and it's people like that I adore, and I get to go hang out with. So.
Oh, that's really cool. Henry's
House of Coffee, yep.
Henry's House of Coffee by the Presidio in San Francisco.
Yes, sir.
Cliff at Coachella Valley.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Cliff. Appreciate it. Love having you hang out with us. Yeah. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.